Hello, guys. This is Timothy Bell. I'm the CEO of Galactic Fire Studios, and I welcome you to our first ever tutorial from our studio. Okay, what we're going to be going over today is actually the framework of Unreal Engine. So we're going to be going over the player state, game state, player controller, and the game mode in order to create a full gameplay loop. And we're going to be doing this a little bit differently. It's going to be a third-person game, so once you start your project, we'll be using 4.27. So start it with a third-person template, and we're going to do this more in the vein instead of the traditional shooter like a lot of people do. We're going to do something more like Dragon Ball Z or Mega Man type third-person. Well, we'll be shooting from our hands. So some of the prerequisites that we need. I would prefer that you're intermediate user. This is not for beginners. And I'll explain a few things as if I'm talking to beginners, but for the most part, I'm going to assume that you know what you're doing. But one of the plugins that we are going to need, and I'll link it in the description, is going to be AGR Pro. It's free on the marketplace. The developer of it is absolutely incredible, Angel. So please support him any way you can. He does just phenomenal work, and he's made some incredibly difficult things for users easy. So any way that we can support him is a good day for me. So he's awesome. Give him a shout out. Go find his channel for more tutorials on AGR. I'll just be covering the basics of it to get us up and running for what we need. So go ahead and download that plugin and enable it in your project once we get started. So again, we're going to learn to build a gameplay loop using Unreal's gameplay framework. So we're going to go through some win conditions. How do we win a level to progress to the next part? We're going to be going over respawning. So if we do die, how do our character will start the match from the beginning again. And we're going to be learning the overlay system with Animation Master. And what we'll also be doing, just kind of a general practice that I go by, is I always assume that my game's going to be multiplayer because it's easier to start multiplayer mechanics than it is to make a single player and decide later on, hey, let's make this multiplayer. So everything that we do is going to be replicated to the point that we're going to assume that we're going to be playing this cooperatively. And maybe, hey, if we have enough fun doing it, maybe we'll do some competitive stuff. But most importantly, let's just have some fun, guys. I'm all about fun. That's what I'm here for. That's what games are for. So let's have fun. Let's tell cool stories with games. Let's have fun with games. Let's learn how to do it the right way, and let's just do it. So with that being said, let's hop right into it. Okay. So I apologize. I actually had a lot of this done, but for some reason when I was recording it, it turned out just a blank screen. So I'll apologize that some of this looks like it's already done. So you'll have to bear with me, and I'll explain what I did, obviously in detail. So first things first, though. So once you make your project, you'll go to your plugins after you download AGR Pro. Make sure it's enabled and that you're up and running again. Okay. So with that being said, one of the first things that I did is we're going to come to the blueprint. Just excuse me, I'm sorry. You'll come to the blueprint folder, and we're just going to make a few base classes. So you're going to go ahead, and I'll do this again just to show you. So we need a PC, and we're going to use conventional naming conventions as well. It's a good idea to get into the habit of naming things properly, especially once you have a bigger team. Once you guys get used to a good naming convention, it's a lot easier to manage your project. So for me, the short abbreviation, and there's ways, Michael Aller did a great article about naming conventions that you can find that your teams can use if you have a team. So for me, player controller, PC, and we're going to have a base gameplay one. As you can see, I already made it, so I'm just walking you through it. And I'm not going to actually create this, but a gameplay base. So that's going to be the base controller for when we're actually doing gameplay. Now I'm going to go ahead and delete mine since I already have one. And then do the same thing with the player state. Blueprint class, you'll have to search for player state. And then just call it BP _player state. And Unreal obviously doesn't follow that naming convention. So let's fix that. BP third person character since he's a blueprint character. Okay. And let's also fix that for here. So we'll go GM. So we'll go GM third person game. Okay. So we have our own naming convention now. Okay. So our next step, what we're going to do is we want to open up our third person character. And I already have it added here, but we're going to go to add component and AGR anim master. And AGR has a suite of other things to just make incredibly difficult things so easy for us if we wanted to, as far as inventory, equipment. The combat manager is absolutely phenomenal. There's a lot of things that you can get into, and like I said, if you visit Angel's channel, you can, he goes over a lot of these things, but you can make some phenomenal stuff with the tools that he's given us for free. He's awesome, so I can't stress that enough. So anyways, so we got our anim master here. As of right now, you guys with your blank project, you guys probably have a VR reset here and something else like a touch controls here. You can go ahead and delete those. I already did. Like I said, I was already pretty much done with this tutorial and had to start it over again once I saw the finished product and the screen was just blank. So anyways, our next step is we need to go into our anim BP and we're going to start working with our animation blueprint. So easiest way to find it is go here to mesh and come over here to where it says animation, third person anim BP, and hit that looking glass. Alrighty, so now we have it here. Let's double click and open that up. Alrighty, I'm skipping ahead here. So what yours is probably going to look like is you're probably directly hooked up to the output pose. And that's fine. That's absolutely fine. Your guy's probably idling. Mine's just A-posing right now because we did a few things. Okay, so we're going to disconnect these. And if you don't know how to do that, that's just Alt and clicking it. And then what I did here is you're going to save catched pose, okay? And then I named mine base pose. We already have one, so I'm not going to do it, but that's just how you do that there. So let's do that there. Alrighty. Okay, so what you're likely going to have is you're going to have entry to idle run, then you're going to have jump start, falling, and jump stop, or something along those lines. You can actually delete everything except for idle and run, okay? And again, I apologize, guys, for like I said, some of this being done. It's just due to the fact I finished this and it didn't go through. So anyways, so what we're going to do next is we're going to pull out of here and we need a state. Okay, and that state, you're going to name it entry, like I've done right there. Okay, and like I said, I already did it, so I'm not going to do that. But you double click this, and what you want to do is get your third person idle, and you just want to hook it in, okay? So your third person idle should be hooked up. You want to go back, okay? And then this is where we start using some of the functionality from AGR. So what we're going to need to do, yours likely says up here at the top right corner, anim instance. Now that's just Unreal's base parent class for the anim instance. What we need to do is we need to use AGR. So what you'll do is we're going to reparent it. So come to class settings and then change to AGR core anim instance. Okay. So once you do that, you should be good to go. Compile it. And then what we need to do is we need to expose some of those variables that come with AGR. So you're going to come over here to this eyeball, hit this drop down box and show inherited variables. Okay. Once that happens, AGR should populate over here in the list, and you'll have a slew of new variables for us to use, okay? And granted, those don't have to be showing like that in order to use these, but I just like knowing that they're there, okay? So what you're going to do is we need to know with a gameplay tag, which is a super powerful system that now is exposed for us with this plugin. So you need to type in base pose, which is a base variable that comes with AGR. And we just need to see if it's valid. Is gameplay tag valid? Once it's valid, go ahead and enter that transition there for us. Okay. So let's not duplicate work for ourselves. We're just going to copy this, and then from idle run, that transition, you'll copy and paste that there, and you'll type in not to get that not boolean. So when we're not in that base pose, we'll go back to the different transition. Okay. So we're going to do a few more things in here before we're done. Okay. So what we need to do is we're going to blend by bool. And so what we mean by that is you're going to type in blend by bool, which is a true false statement. Okay. So what we're going to check to see is if we're falling or not. All right. Are we in the air? If we are in the air, then what we need to do is let's play this jump loop here if we're in the air. If we aren't, then we're probably running, walking, or idle, or one of those three. So we're done with that there. Alrighty. So let's go back to the main anim graph. We're hooked up here. Alrighty. So now here's where we get to do some very, very cool things. Okay. So we need a new state machine. And we're going to call this overlays. Okay. So what we're going to do next is let's go back to our animations. And let's find our third person idle animation. Okay. And we are going to duplicate this. And we're going to call this third. And let's give it a name convention. AN for animation. Actually, let's not, because that's what an anim notify is. We'll call it A for animation. And then third person ADS. Aiming down sights. Okay. So let's open that up. And let's pause it here at the beginning. And this is going to be very simple. All we're going to do is let's get a hold of its upper arm. And right now we are in local space. Let's go to world space. And I'm just going to lift that up there. 90 degrees. Now let's get a hold of his wrist. And let's put that up. 90 degrees. And let's rotate it on the z-axis about 60. Now you can get as detailed as you want with this. I'm just going pretty simple. We'll just go right there and call it good. And then what you need to do, let's key this pose. Let's apply it. And then now he's got his outstretched hand there. Okay. So now it's like, hey, what are we doing with this? Just kind of look silly. Why would I just be idle like that? Okay. You'll see. We're gonna get there. It's gonna look pretty cool, and it's pretty simple. And I just love the power of the system and how we get there. Okay, so what we're gonna do is drag off here. We need a state, and we'll call this entry. All right, and let's go into entry. What is entry? What is our base overlay? Well, we should be in the base pose catch that we saved in order to gain entry. Okay, so we're in here, and then now we need a conduit. All right, so add conduit. Okay, well, how do we get to that conduit? Okay, what we're going to do is we're going to type in overlay pose. We're going to get it, and we're going to get equal, and that's the equal side 2 times next to the backspace button. And now what we're going to do is we're going to make a new gameplay tag. Okay, so where it says add new gameplay tag, we're going to do animation dot overlay dot ADS. So we are aiming down the sights. I'm going to take that, copy and paste. And actually, I am sorry, I made a mistake. I made a major mistake. We'll not make any more work for ourselves, so we'll leave that there. But what we need to do is actually check if this is valid first. Do we even have an overlay? We may not even have an overlay. And copy and paste that. So if we don't have an overlay, we'll go back just to our base pose. But if we do have an overlay, let's check to see what it is. So let's make a new state. Add state, ADS. And we'll do overlay pose again. And we're going to just make that gameplay tag if you didn't that time. And ADS. We are aiming down the sights. Alright. And our transition out of it is we are not aiming down the sights. Alright, so what does aiming down the sights look like? It looks like a whole lot like this. So we're going to bring our animation in. And we're going to look for our base pose, our catched base pose. We're going to use that. And we are going to blend per bone. Okay. Gonna plug that in there and pop that in. Alrighty, so click on this node here. Alrighty, and what we're gonna have to do is in the layered setup of the branch filters, we're gonna need to add some things to it. Alrighty, to make sure that we're blending properly. So where it says 0 there, we're gonna just type in spine on 1, so we're going to be blending from the spine on 1, and we're going to be doing this in mesh space rotation blend, and we need to add another one for, we have a hand IK that we need to go along with us, and we got the root, and we only need it to blend at 0. Alrighty, and we're good to go from there. Okay, let me double check. We got that, we got that, got that, we got that. Okay, we are good there. So let's get back to it then. So what we're going to do from here is we're going to catch, save, catched, and we're going to call this the overlay. Alrighty. And we're going to make a new state machine. And we're going to call this one in air. Okay, so we need a new state. We'll call it entry. Let's go ahead and take a look at entry. Entry is interesting because all it is just our jump start. That's how we're going to get in there. So jump start, and then let's make another state for when we're in the air. Add state in air. How do we get there? Well, let's just check, are we in the air? Yeah, we're in the air. So since we're in the air, let's play that jump loop. Damn, beautiful. Okay, we made one small mistake back in our overlays. If you guys got the same thing that I did there, we just got to check that. And it should be good to go. Okay. So anyways, go back here. Okay. So what we're going to do here is we're going to blend per bone again. And we're going to use our overlay pose, our catched, and we're going to make sure you have that selected, the layered blend per bone. And we are actually going to blend from our third spine bone this time. So hit that plus sign, spine 03. We're going to go 3 in the depth, and we're going to use mesh space rotation again. Okay, and then what we're going to do again, let's give ourselves some room. So we're going to blend poses by bool. And again, that true false statement, we just want to know, are we in the air or not? If we're not in the air, then use your overlay pose. And all of this is going to culminate into saving a catch pose. And this is all of our locomotion. Alrighty, so we'll give ourselves a little bit more room here because we still got a little ways to go before we start rocking and rolling. Okay, so what's going to happen here is, let's get this again. You can just Control C and V, get that there. We're going to do blend per bone. Okay, and we're going to do it again. And this time we're going to get a slot. So get your slots. And I don't have any other slots right now. So what we want is we want a slot that's just our lower body or our upper body. So we want to separate our bodies. We want to separate the body by up and top, or full body for certain things. So anyways, the way that we do that, and there actually may be another way to do it. I'm not sure. So anyways, one of the ways to do that is, let's go back to our asset, and we're going to create an anim montage. Open up the montage, and here where it says default slot group is where you would use those at. Okay, so we need our slot manager. Okay, and with the slot manager, we're going to add a slot, and we're going to call it upper body. Alright, so we have that there, and we're going to save it. Alright, so now we should be able to compile this, and now we have an upper body slot. So our overlays are typically going to be our different ADS poses. If you have a martial arts game, it could be a martial arts stance that you have. So it's really just your upper body. So when you have different guns, the way you hold them and all those stuff, you handle all that with an overlay. That's what's happening here. So, and again, you want to select that node, and we want to add. We're going to be doing this from spine on 1 with a depth of 3 and mesh space blend. Alrighty. And then what we're going to do is we're going to get a slot again, and we're going to use the default slot, which is the full body. And this is going to be our final blend. So we're going to save, catch, pose, final blend. Alrighty, and then now we got a little bit more work to do, and then we'll be just about done. Okay, so our next step is actually pretty interesting. Okay, it's going to be a procedural aiming down sight system, or aim offset system. So we'll go back to our folder here. What we're going to do is right click, go to animation blueprint. Alrighty, we're just going to use the base anim instance, and then we're going to use the skeleton that we're using. Okay, for tidiness, let's go ahead and rename our mannequin skeleton to player, so we can find him quicker. So we'll just call it player skeleton. So anim BP, and we'll call this offsets, or just offset. That was interesting there. What happened there? Okay, we'll try that again. Player skeleton, anim instance, okay. AVP, offset. Alright, there we go. Don't know why I didn't do it that time. Okay, so what we're going to be doing here is we're going to make a variable for our aim offset. Okay, let's call it aim offset, and this variable type is actually going to be a vector 2D. Okay, and for those of you who don't know, all the vector 2D is just, I'll bring that in here, and once you split it, it's actually just your X and Y coordinates on your screen. So what we're going to do from here is we're going to type in input pose, So the pose is going to be going in, and we're going to go local to component. Alrighty, and we're going to divide this by 3. We're going to divide the y by -3. Okay, and then what we're going to do is we are going to transform and modify some bones. Okay, and the bone that we want to modify, and this part here, it's easy to get lost, so I'll go as slow as possible here. Okay, so the bone we want to modify is going to be spinal 1, and we don't need translation. So just hit expose this pin and that'll go away. And we also don't need scale, so expose this pin and that'll go away. Now here in rotation, where it says ignore, we need to go to add to existing, okay? And then what we need to do is we need to split this. And interestingly enough, your Y is going to go here into your X, and your X is actually going to go here into your Z. Alrighty. So let's do a reroute node so we have some ways to go. Okay, we're going to copy and paste this, and we're going to change this to Spino 2. And we'll plug these in. Plug that in there. Again, we'll copy and paste this. And this will be spine 03. Alrighty. We're good there, and we'll go back to our third person NMBP, and this is where we'll be using this graph. Alrighty. So next thing we're going to do is we're going to do type in. This is another variable that comes with AGR aim offset type. Get that there, and we are going to blend poses EAGR and aim offsets. Okay, so now what we're going to do is let's right click, and where it says add pin or element, what we're going to do is none. We're going to do aim. We're going to do look. Okay, so let's go pretty quick here because these first two are just our final blend. So default pose and none will be our final blend. Okay, and then you can copy and paste final blend and just type in link anim graph. Okay, select it and then select our anim graph for BP. Okay, so now what we need to do while this is still selected, go to aim offset and expose it over here, and then type in final aim offset, and then type that into aim. Okay, so what's happening is with the C++ behind the scenes with the AGR plugin, it's keeping track of your X and Y when you're doing things in the character blueprint, and then it's just going to send that information here for our procedural aim offset, and you'll see the fruits of that here in just a moment. Okay, and then we're just going to copy and paste that again, and we're going to type in look. Yep. Look at, and then select look at, and what you want to do is our look at target is actually where it says bind over here, look at location. You're going to come over here, find the variable lookout location, just select that vector, and then over here skeleton control where it says bone to modify, type in head. I'm going to modify the head. Alrighty, and then plug that into look. And then these are some of the values I found that work the best. So you could just copy and paste 0.25 into all these. And then we'll plug that into our final result. And our character should go back to idling. Alrighty. So what we want to do from here is actually go and create our ADS. So let's give us some inputs to actually do that. So I'm going to input action mapping. If you have reset VR, you can get out of that. And let's add ADS, aim down sights. That'll be right mouse. Let's add shoot. Left mouse. And we're good to go from here. Okay. So let's go ADS. And let's set up a few things in our anim master. Alrighty. Let's set this up where there's one thing that we forgot to do. So we set up our overlay pose, but we didn't set up our overall base pose. Bear with me for just a moment. I overlooked that. Well, to an extent, we'll be okay. We'll be okay. If it becomes a problem, we'll cross that bridge when it comes. Anyways, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna add a new gameplay tag. And we're actually just gonna hit this plus sign next to animation, and then it'll populate that up there. We'll call this base loco motion. Alrighty. And so our base pose will just be base locomotion. We're gonna bring this in here. We'll leave that there for now. Let's get our camera, and we're gonna set field of view. Let's set that to 70. Alright. So what we're gonna do here is we got to set up a few things that AGR takes care of for us, which is pretty awesome. Alrighty, so let's set up our aim offset and some of the behavior that comes along with it. Okay, we're gonna aim, so we're not looking at anything, and we're gonna aim at the nearest target, and we're gonna clamp that by 90 degrees. Okay, then we're gonna set up our rotation. Now, this is built for as if we had eight directional movement, which we don't have right now. But if you guys do have those animations and kind of get the basics of this, then you could go ahead and make that where you can move in 8 directions, and you'll see what I mean in just a moment. All right. So set up rotation, and we want to rotate at the desired angle. Alright, and then we want to set up the overlay pose, which is going to be ADS. And then, as I mentioned earlier, most things that we do, we're going to assume that we're going to make it multiplayer. All this here is replicated already through AGR. So we need to do basic replication ourselves or something. So what we're going to do is add custom event. Going to make this run on the server. It's going to be reliable. And what we're going to do is we're going to get our character movement component, max walk speed. We're going to set it. Alrighty. And what we're going to do, this is the best method. Well, I don't want to say the best. That's the wrong term. This is one of the methods that you won't get as much rubber banding where you're getting corrected by the server back to position once the client increases speed too much. If you will copy and paste this here, if you do it first on the client, which we're doing here, so when we're aiming down the sights, we want to decrease our speed, and we need to let the server know that that's what we're doing. So by running it first here on the client will see that right away, and then the server will catch up with it. Now, the best way to do it, and the actual way to do it, is you'd actually have to make some custom code for the character movement component to handle that, which we're not going to get into. That's a lot of C++, and yeah, that's beyond the scope of what we're doing here. Okay, so we have that, and what we're going to do is we're going to collapse this to a function and start ADS is what this function will be called. Okay, and we're just going to copy and paste all this. Let's take it back. Let's paste it, and let's put our field of view back to 90. Let's change our aim offset to look at. We're going to rotate to velocity, and we're going to set our overlay. We're actually going to set it to nothing. And then we're going to set our max walk speed back to 600. And then we're going to collapse this back to a function. Stop ADS. Alrighty, let's see what we got. So we're gonna hit play here. We're moving around. Ooh, yeah, man, our neck's kind of broken. But anyways, so our default is look at. So as you can see, our head's moving where we're looking at. Pretty cool. And then if we right click, we are T-posing. Why are we T-posing? Or A-posing rather. That's smooth though. But anyways, let's figure that out. What did I do wrong? Overlay pose or ADS. Interesting. Animation's okay. Going into transition, okay. Let's try one more thing. Set up the base pose. Base pose of locomotion. So. Oh, there we go. Didn't hook up that last one there and the aim offset. There we go. Okay, so as you can see now, we're aiming. Okay, now we could obviously make that far better if we went in here and took the time to, let's actually do something with the camera. Let's camera boom rather. Let's move it a little bit to the side and let's see what that looks like. Okay, as you see, when you're aiming down the sights, if we had 8 directional moving, this is where that would come into play and look far better. And I don't like where that's at, so we'll move it over a little bit. Let's do 65. And now let's check that out. Okay, I can dig that a little bit. Okay, so we're aiming. Not too bad. Not too bad at all. Okay. Hey, so that's it for part 1. The next part we'll actually get to where we're firing a line trace, and then eventually we'll probably do a projectile and see what cool effects we can do with that. All right, thank you.